Ms. Strickland, you are recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chairwoman Norton and Ranking Member Davis. As we consider the direction of this emerging technology, I know my constituents back home in the Washington 10th Congressional District want to see transportation developments that can improve their daily lives and also have a focus on equity. But they also want to know that they'll be safe and secure on our nation's roadways. As we've heard today, there is evidence that AVs have the potential to reduce roadway deaths and injuries. And with 2021 being the deadliest year for motorists in Washington state in 15 years, I'm glad that the subcommittee is exploring these possibilities. So I have two questions, one for Mr. Wolf in the industry, and this is more of a conversation about messaging. Could you very briefly talk to our constituents and people who may be hesitant or not quite certain or nervous about AV deployments happening across the country? And what would you tell them after this discussion today? What should be the big takeaway for people outside of our bubble?
Thank you so much, Congresswoman, for that question. The simple and straightforward answer is that the data is clear. Autonomous vehicles are not only safe, but they're making our roads safer. There is a crisis on our roadways, has been discussed a number of times in this hearing, and it cannot be stated enough. And the number of crashes and severe fatalities and severe injuries continues to go up at an alarming rate. And the overwhelming majority of those are, there is a contribution of human behavioral issue, whether it's distracted driving, drunk driving. Those are the numbers, and it's a big problem. So autonomous vehicles, the industry that we represent and the members of our association are designing technology that will address that specific issue, and it will have a dramatic impact on safety in conjunction with many other solutions that were put forward by Secretary Buttigieg and the National Roadway Safety Strategy. So first and foremost, this is about improving safety, not just of other drivers on the road, but vulnerable road users as well. Bicyclists and pedestrians across the whole gamut. So that's the key thing. And I would just very quickly enumerate the other benefits with respect to equity, the ability to enhance and expand mobility for individuals with disabilities, and with respect to economic growth. There are tremendous benefits that accrue to society as a result of the deployment of AVs, and what we're looking to do is build out a national framework to scale that deployment in a way that brings those benefits to the greatest number of people as possible.
Great, well, thank you very much. Now I'd like to turn to Vice Mayor Pro Tem Castix Tatum, and welcome, ma'am. It's nice to see you here. And I'm a former mayor myself, so I really appreciate that you're here today. And I would like to ask you, on a local level, what specific infrastructure investments have been needed in your city in Houston, or any dedicated lanes as you tried to prepare for this deployment? That's the first part. And then the second part, tell me how you've done this through the lens of equity as a leader.
Thank you for that question. I can speak from the pilots that we've had here in Houston. With the pilot that we had at Texas Southern University in conjunction with Metro, we had a shuttle that was riding on the campus of Texas Southern University, and that was phase one. We're working in phases. Phase two, we are looking at going off-road between two universities. So as we work through each of the phases, we are hoping to gather more data so that we can make sure the infrastructure works alongside of the autonomous vehicles. With our work with Neuro, which is delivering for businesses, we've seen transportation become less of a barrier for some of our lower economic communities. Specifically during our time with COVID, Neuro was able to deliver senior boxes to an apartment complexes in one of our poor areas in the city of Houston, one of our complete community areas, one of the areas where residents need assistance with getting groceries. So we see the opportunity for these autonomous vehicles to really help the quality of life for some of our residents who can't drive to the store because they don't have a car, or some of our differently abled constituents to get their prescriptions delivered. So we see this as a new and innovative way for us to meet the needs of our residents and really improve their quality of life in cities.
Great. Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. Madam Chair, I yield back.
The gentlelady yields back.